Welcome back to Red and Blue. Former Vice President Mike Pence is back in Iowa today. Pence spoke to his supporters, maybe not his, just general supporters throughout the Hawkeye state, just a day after a federal judge here in Washington ruled that Pence must testify before a grand jury about former President Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. CBS News reporter Musadiq Bidar is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, for more. Musadiq, what did the former vice president say about this judge's ruling and the likelihood he will appear before that grand jury?
Hi, Major. Former Vice President Mike Pence here in Cedar Rapids said he's going to think over the matter and discuss it with his lawyers. He said he is actually going to speak with them later this week about a path forward. But he also said he has nothing to hide. He said he has spoken about January 6th, the aftermath of that day, extensively in speeches, and also written about it in his book, a book which he is currently on tour across the country and across this state promoting. But it was interesting to hear him say he has nothing to hide. We just want to play that soundbite real quick. Let's take a look at what the former vice president had to say about that.
We'll be speaking with our attorneys in Washington before the end of the week and sorting out what our next steps are. I obviously have nothing to hide. I've been speaking about those days, writing about them extensively over the last 2 years. But for me, it was important that we stand on that constitutional principle. And again, I'm pleased the court sided with us that, in fact, the Constitution speech and debate clause does apply to the vice president when they're serving as president of the Senate.
Yeah, and that part that former Vice President Mike Pence talks about, the speech and debate clause, he said that was really important for him because he said that he was serving as president of the Senate that day and he doesn't want to have to talk about that work. But he said that he's pleased with the judge's decision, even though the judge is ordering him to testify, which makes you think that there could potentially be a narrow path, a narrow lane for the former vice president to testify and shed some more light while also not having to discuss his duties as president of the Senate that day.
Right. And Musadiq, we don't want to go all law school here, but the fact of the matter is it's a part of public record that the former president, meaning President Trump, and the former vice president, Mike Pence, didn't speak on January 6th. We already know that. What the special counsel wants is conversations that predated January 6th. And as I read the judge's ruling, that's not covered by speech and debate. So it seems to me that I know that the former vice president won on the January 6th day, covered by speech and debate, but he may not be on those other days, and that could create an opening for the special counsel.
Yeah, and look, he said at the end of the day, he's going to obey the law. He said he's going to work through this with his lawyers, and where the law requires him to testify and be forthcoming, he said he will obey that and make that happen. So we'll have to see what his lawyers tell him, and we'll keep you posted on that and keep our viewers posted on that by the end of this week.
Musadiq, you're there. What was the reception the vice president got, and what would you say the state of play in Iowa is among Republicans who are either in or very seriously, and we have to say this, Pence is quite clearly seriously considering getting into this race?
He is. He said it over and over again that he is very close to making that decision. He didn't specifically say anything about that today here in Cedar Rapids. But when you hear him talk about these bigger themes, he says that the country is in trouble and that it's going to take a new generation of leadership to bring back this economy and to bring America back respect on the world stage. He sounds more and more like a presidential candidate. And as you mentioned, this is his third trip to Iowa this year. His second trip this month. He was here a couple of weeks ago with Senator Joni Ernst for a foreign policy forum. But today's trip, he's doing 3 events. He's going to small counties. He's shaking hands here at the Cedar Rapids Country Club. He came in, met with everybody, took pictures, signed books. And so when you see him in Iowa making these visits, going to small towns, doing the retail politics, it gives you that impression that he's getting ready to jump into this race. And he said it in recent interviews that he is very close to making that decision.
And is there much conversation that you're detecting there, Musadiq, about Trump and DeSantis? Today, as we're speaking, Trump has put out a number of videos on his social media platform criticizing the Florida governor. Does that feel like the center of the conversation among Republicans in Iowa? Trump and DeSantis and Pence is just sort of on the margins?
Well, look, it's still early. We've got about a year till the caucuses, but we were here a couple of weeks ago and speaking with voters, and it was interesting that voters in Des Moines and Council Bluffs and Nevada, Iowa were telling me that they love former President Trump. They love his policies and what he has done for this country. But at the same time, they want somebody new. They're hungry for a fresh perspective and a new standard bearer for the party. And it was interesting that a lot of voters told me they don't like the way that President Trump carries himself anymore. They love his policies, but they don't like that demeanor, and they think that that's something that could hurt him. So that leaves an opening for someone like DeSantis or Pence with a year to go.
Trump fatigue may be a thing in Iowa. We'll have to wait and see. Musadiq Bidar, thank you so very much.